Hey guys, Jim from Import Image Racing and welcome back to the channel. On this week's video, we're going to be installing the Noble JDM style DRL fog light bezels on our 2022 Subaru WRX. Stick around. Before we get started, let's first take a look at what's inside the box. This kit includes a pair of JDM style DRL fog light bezels with gloss black finish. Also included is our wiring harness. There are several different ways that we can wire up our DRLs from our new bezels. One of those ways is to use the existing wiring that's in the car, but it's a little bit more difficult to do that wire up underneath the dash to activate those connectors. Since our kit comes with a brand new harness, we're going to focus on installing with the parts that we have on the table today. With that being said, to do a proper installation, we've picked up one additional part that's not provided in the kit. A 10 amp Adafuse, which can be found on the website, and we will leave a link in the description below. With that out of the way, we have our hood popped. Let's start by removing the bumper. We'll start by removing the 5 plastic push pins plus 6 10mm bolts attaching the bumper to the top of the vehicle. Next, we'll move down to the wheel well, where there's going to be 2 plastic push pins per side that attach the side of the bumper to the inner fender well. Remove the 10 plastic push pins around the perimeter underneath the front bumper. With all of our hardware removed, we're going to grab our bumper and release it from the clips. Repeat this process on the other side, being mindful not to have the bumper fall on you or hit the ground or scratch in any way. Disconnect the factory fog lights. With the bumper off the car, it's now a good time to go over some of the wiring options we have when installing this kit. Taking a look at our factory fog light harness, this is the connector that we disconnected and able to get the fog lights off the car. Attached to this harness, you will see a gray connector, which looks eerily similar to the gray connector provided in the Noble harness. And that's because this is the same exact connector. And if you wanted to run this with the factory DRLs inside the car, this is the harness that you would use. At this point, you would cut the tape, extending the connector so that it could reach the DRL. Now, when you plug this in, unfortunately, this is not a live connector, so there is more work you have to do underneath the dash of the vehicle once this is all complete. Even though cutting the tape and plugging the connector is easier for now, I do believe it's going to be more difficult once we get the car back together and you've got to get underneath the dash to start cutting and splicing wires. So instead of that, we're going to use the actual harness that's provided with the Noble kit. So we're going to leave this taped up, we're going to plug our connector in from the harness to the back of the light, and then we're going to run that to the fuse box that is underneath the hood of this vehicle to make it a lot more convenient to do the install. Another option for wiring is taking our DRL and turning it into an active turn signal. This is the time where you're going to want to decide if you do or don't want this option, because it's going to be way easier to wire it now than any other time while we're doing it. So if you do decide to opt for the turn signal option, you will have a yellow wire that's attached to your DRL. We can reach up behind our headlight and disconnect our turn signal harness, which is this big gigantic thing right here, and you will tap into the yellow power wire, which is easy because we have a tap that's provided in the kit and we're just going yellow wire to yellow wire. We've made our decision. We're going to use the harness. We are going to hook up our turn signal. Let's head back over to the bumper and show you how the bezel installs. Although it may look like you can remove the bezel from the front of the vehicle, there is a problem, and that problem is right here. There is one push pin on each side of the vehicle that needs to be addressed in order to get the bezel out of the car. With our push pin removed, we can just kind of work around the perimeter of our plastic tabs, pushing them down and out, and then we can work our bezel out from the front. Provided in our kit is a piece of studded hardware. on the back of our bezels, you will see this U-shaped slot. Take your piece of hardware with the threads facing towards you and insert it into the slot like this. Our new bezel installs just like the old one came out, although you are going to want to make sure the harness comes through the back of the bumper. Press and lock all of our clips in, then we can reinstall our push pin. Install the provided nut onto the stud that we previously installed. With the 10mm socket, tighten this nut until the body gap on the outer edge of the bezel is no longer visible. Keep in mind not to over-tighten or the stud will pull through the plastic. A pro tip is to put a dab of Loctite onto the threads, so once it dries, there's no worry of that thread backing out, even if the nut isn't fully secure. Repeat those steps for the other side. And just like that, our bumper is almost ready to reinstall. We have our wiring harness unwrapped. We're going to take our unterminated leads and leave them up by the fuse box, and then we have a short length connector and a long length connector. The short length is going to go to the driver's side, and we're going to run the long length connector all the way to the passenger side. Before we reinstall the bumper, we're going to hook up our turn signal. And once again, we're going to do so by connecting our yellow wire from our DRL turn signal to our yellow wire on our harness. We're going to connect these two with our provided wire connector. So we're going to slide this into here and clamp this down with a pair of pliers like that. Then we'll take our new wire and put it in and clamp that side down. After installation, your tap should look like this. We're going to repeat these steps for the other side, then we're going to hook our lights directly to the battery and test all of our connections before reinstalling the bumper. Our bezels are installed, our wiring has been checked. Now we can just plug our original fog lights back in and reinstall the bumper the same way it came off. Then we'll finish our wiring back up at the fuse panel. Our final step is to complete our wiring inside of our fuse box. We have two wires. One is a terminated ground, which we will use at this particular point right here. And then for our white wire, which is our power wire, we are going to be putting in our add a fuse to that white wire. At that point in time, in front of our 3 Denso relays right here, you're going to see a pack of 4 fuses. We're going to remove this third fuse, which is also a 10 amp fuse. We will put that into our add a fuse, and we will put that into the relay box. Thanks for taking a look at the install of the Noble JDM DRL fog light bezels for the 2022 to present Subaru WRX. For thousands of parts just like this, plus tons more, be sure to hit up importimageracing.com for all of the best deals on the web and in the world, and we'll catch you on the next one.